working from home, but today they forced me to come in, so I was like, shoot, it changes up things, but
Yeah, man.
let's
I
do it.
appreciate you for being here, man.
Heck
And
yeah.
we live. And we live.
Well, Philly fam, I'm back. I'm back.
And man, what's good, Josh? How you doing, man? Appreciate you for coming out.
Heck yeah. I am doing well. I appreciate you having me. I apologize too. I know it's been a crazy day in the last couple of weeks. You've been trying to get me on, and I was being difficult. So I appreciate you keeping after, but I'm excited to do this, especially on a Friday. Not a better way to celebrate a Friday night. Let's talk about the Birds.
Man, it's nothing better than talking about. I just got my Jalen Hurts jersey in today.
Oh, heck yeah.
I got the black and gold Nike Vapor one.
Oh, yes. I bet that's nice.
I can't wait to wear it. I'm like, Jesus. And then my wife's like, don't wear it right now. Like, I want to wear it tonight. I got Josh on. I might as well pop it out.
I know it. You just save it. So I'd be tempted too. The one that I'm waiting on is Nolan Smith. I got that. I pre-ordered it like draft night, and it still hasn't even shipped, let alone the order's just sitting there processing. So I don't know if some people have already gotten their Nolan Smith, but I'm so hyped up about the Rook.
I guess I'll wait to order mine because I was gonna order the same one. I wanted Kelly Green, but I might have to order it early, man. I know. I might just have to take a chance because it looked like that's gonna be back ordered like a mug. I need one.
Oh yeah, you know it. Yeah, the fact that I wonder when it's gonna get released too, right? Like we keep hearing like, okay, Kelly Greens, they're gonna get released at some point, but like you mentioned there, is like, yeah, when they do, it's gonna be impossible to get your hands on them. So I don't know. And that's why I was like, all right, you know what? Let's just get the jersey right now, pre-order it, and it's still taking forever. So who knows?
Yeah, man. So we've been through OTAs, we've been through the draft. Me and you were on the same train with the Bijan. We did not end up getting Bijan. I was a little hurt. But to get Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, I'm okay. I'm in a good state because you can't really complain when you get two of the best picks in the draft. One at 9, one at 30. So how are you feeling right now, man? Are you as excited as I am to see these young guys and see what we can contribute to the team?
I'm pumped. I'm super excited. Yeah, like I can't contain my excitement. Like I'm saying on all the shows and everything, but this team, this group, and obviously, like I mentioned too, getting Nolan Smith's jersey. Like I love all the rookies. Nolan Smith to me is the most exciting. He's my favorite rookie. I'm probably borderline like chaotic at this point at how much I'm like Googling like, okay, Nolan Smith, like just trying to find videos or clips or just whatever's going on. But I think he is going to be so special on this team. Not that the other rookies aren't, but you just look at the dynamic of this group, this squad, what Howie has put together. And happy birthday to him, by the way, too.
Happy birthday, Howie.
But like, man, if at the start of the offseason, I'm sitting there going like, this is, a little shaky here. Like, I don't know exactly what we're going to do. And shout out to Jimmy Smith of On the Road to Victory. Cause like, I don't know the cat near as well as that guy does. And I don't know who does, but like him keeping us up to date of, okay, here's the cap space. Here's what we can do. Here's some potential signings and all other stuff. I was like, all right, you know what? I can pump the brakes a little bit. I don't need to be all skeptical of what's going to happen. And then how he goes out and I think blows everyone's mind of who he's able to keep and then also go and acquire. And then you look at the draft. So yeah, man, I'm pumped. I just hate that we got to wait a couple more months, right? Like what are we doing here? Like it feels like the longest road trip ever.
Man, that's a long time away. It seems like it's close, but it's like, God, we got to wait till July. And then the first preseason game is what, September?
Yeah. Or the first preseason August, but then
August, first game is September.
In September. So I know it's still gonna take forever, but it'll get here eventually.
So out of the draft phase, we know Nolan Smith. So we're gonna take Nolan Smith and we're gonna take him out of the equation. Out of the new acquisitions for the Eagles, who are you most pumped to and who are you most pumped to see and who do you think can make an outbreak and really contribute to what we got going on?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Out of the acquisitions, if we're not talking draft picks, just the acquisitions, the newcomers here, I don't know. Like I would say for me, and I did a show on it today too, but I would say Rashad Penny. And I know there's some people or at least some, analysts out there that are saying like there's possibility of Danger getting cut, but I think that's crazy. Like there's so much potential with Rashad Penny, a guy who averages 6.2 yards per carry the last couple seasons, to say like, yeah, he may not make the team. Like, are you kidding me? He did that with the Seahawks. This is going to be behind the best O-line in football. And you've got this violent of a runner. And plus you're not asking him to be the bell cow back. Cause as we know, you got Swift, you got Gainwell, Boston Scott, maybe even Trey Sermon makes a little push there. I don't know. But to me, I'm thinking Penny's got to stay with what he's shown you. If he can stay healthy, I can't wait to see what he does behind this O-line. So to me, I mean, he's right up there. I know Olamide Zaccheaus, potential for wide receiver 3. I still think that Quez is going to win out on that battle. But I think that Zaccheaus provides, some different looks, some different options to this offense. So there's a couple on the offensive side of the football, but then, you look at the defense too, like you got guys like Nicholas Morrow and Terrell Edmonds. I'm not sure. I like Nicholas Morrow, but I'm wondering if Christian Ellis ends up being that starting linebacker. And then, Terrell Edmonds, it seems like the reports are he's going to be a starting safety, but I like Sidney Brown, man. I don't know if I had to say I'm liking Sidney Brown for that starting safety spot, but I know there's a lot of them. I don't know if I could just name one. Obviously, you see how I'm just kind of talking around in circles. So
yeah, what kind of taking a while.
Can you pick one? I guess if I throw that question back on you, can you pick one that you're the most excited about?
I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of torn between DeAndre Swift. I think Penny will bring like a different element, like that power aspect of the game, and then DeAndre Swift kind of takes over in the limber role of what Miles Sanders was last year. But then you got Olamide Zaccheaus. He can come in as the fourth receiver. When last year Zach Pascal wasn't really that deadly. You know what I'm saying? He really didn't scare people coming on the field. But when you have, I just imagine in my head you having Dallas Goedert, you got Olamide Zaccheaus, you got Quez Watkins, maybe AJ, maybe Devontae, and all of them on the field at one time could be a problem. Like,
yeah.
But then on the other end, I am very high on Sidney Brown. Yeah, I know Terrell Edmonds is the senior safety, but I think Sidney Brown can make a clash on this defense, man, because he brings that fire. He brings that Philly aspect. He brings that. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn too. I don't know if I can pick one. But if I had to pick one, it's probably Swift. That's fair. Yeah. I think that was the biggest shock during draft night or on draft day, I guess, whenever it happened. But I was actually on a plane thinking like, okay, there's not going to be too much going on this day. Like you're expecting more of the things on day or night 1, obviously, or maybe, day 2 or whatever. But then all of a sudden I get the tweet that I'm seeing on, I'm like, oh, the FOMO of I'm missing out, like seeing this, covering, talking about it, whatever. But yeah, I think the hype is obviously there. So you throw him behind the O-line, I could see that. That's a really interesting pick. I'm curious to get your thoughts too. We were talking about this a little bit in the open before we went live here, but you mentioned obviously like the weapons that this offense has, how crazy it can be, and I think we both would agree will be. But there's been some Jalen Hurts hate today. Like, what is up with that? Like, this is ridiculous. I want to play the clip of the guy saying that he was sensitive real quick before I get my take on this, because the disrespect is getting out of hand.
It really is.
And then Jalen did what he did. He's almost a damn MVP of the league. He's the man. And his contract says he's the man. And his stats say he's the man. But it's been about 5 years since he's been the man. Any worries about that maybe Jalen, although he says the right thing every single time, that maybe gets a little bit of a big head?
Well, my observation, and John's been around him more, but my observation with Jalen Hurts is he's probably the most insecure athlete in Philadelphia who uses the insecurity to his advantage. I think he knows what his physical limitations are and always have been. And that's one reason that he works so hard to optimize every bit of ability he has. And that's one reason he works so hard to be in the best physical shape he can be in. And he works so hard to understand the league, whatever system he's running offensively.
Now to say somebody is insecure means that they are not well-rounded and secure in what they are as a person. And that's a deep shot to take on somebody, because to call someone insecure means they might be in depression about these things or be heartbroken about things that they aren't great at. I don't think Jalen Hurts is insecure. If anything, I think he is aware of who he is. I think he's aware that he can get better. I think he works hard because he knows that every day the league is changing. From Sunday to Sunday, you have different teams that are playing better or, you know what I'm saying, distributing and getting more talent around the team, right? Every year, you have a different team that was probably not playoff team last year that becomes a playoff team next year. So when you work hard, to say someone is insecure and that's why they work so hard, it's kind of like, I think Kobe was probably the hardest working athlete probably in history. I don't think he was insecure. I just thought he knew how to get better. You can't get better sitting at home. You can't get better watching TV or watching workout videos. If you was a 400-pound man sitting at home and you watching workout videos, but you ain't getting up doing none of the workouts, you still gonna be big when the end of the day comes. You might be a little bit more motivated, but you're not gonna lose weight by doing that. So you have to get better. You have to work at it. I don't think he's insecure, but I do think he's gonna have a breakout season. He's gonna stop this. But how you feeling though?
Oh yeah. No, I totally agree. Whenever I heard that at first, it was one of those like double takes where you hear it and you're like, wait, did he really say that? And you like back it up. So I've watched it a couple times. And I think one of the shocking, surprising things to me is also looking at the co-hosts like John and Jody's lack of response. Like I was thinking as soon as he said that insecure, you're going to get some facial expressions, and they kind of just carried on like that's normal. So that was surprising to me, but I agree with you, Smitty. Like he's very self-aware. Jalen is very self-aware. It's not insecurity by any means. Like if there was insecurity, we would have seen something in one of his press conferences. And the only thing that this guy exudes is supreme confidence. He knows who he is, and he can be completely authentic. So to me, I'm right there with you. Like no one works as hard as Jalen does. We've heard it from so many people. We see it, and then he's actually embodying that in his leadership. So to me, I'm like, you know what? Hey, everybody's got to improve. And I think that, you know, anyone who's got a, you know, normal thinking mind is going to say like, okay, yeah, there's areas for improvement. And Jalen says the same thing. He's like, I've got some weaknesses, but that's for me to know. That's for me to know what to work on. So I think he's going to do that. We're going to be great. We're going to be just fine. But to say that he is insecure, like, I don't know what Marcus Hayes was thinking there. I was like, are you kidding me? Really? I don't know. I can't make words of it.
If anything, they could say that about Carson Wentz, maybe. Not Jalen Hurts. And not even I would say Carson Wentz post-19 season.
Right.
Like, before that, I thought everything I thought of Jalen. And I mean, people are saying, you know, we got our hopes up and we might be a little bit ahead of ourselves. But the thing I want to go back to before I go to, he said he hasn't been the man in 5 years. What do you say about last year? I mean, I understand he got benched in a national championship, but he's the reason they were there. Mm-hmm. I remember the next year following that, he got put in because Tua was hurt, and he got him back to a national championship. Then he sat on the bench and transferred, and then he got that team to the playoffs. So how was he not the guy for 5? I don't get the math.
It's ridiculous. There's no way to make sense of it, I don't think, because it's like if he was insecure, even in those instances back with Alabama, like to your point, when Tua, you know, gets the glory because he leads them to the national championship. If he was insecure, he would be maybe pouting, sulking a little bit, not super amped up, excited, cheering on the team, but like that's the exact opposite. He was into the game because he's a team player and he knows who he is. He's like, yeah, you know what? This is I don't need to be worried or concerned about someone else having success because I know what I can bring to the table. And obviously it didn't really work out at Bama because he saw the writing was on the wall with Tua. He goes to Oklahoma. He plays great. You know, end of story. We can look at where Jalen's gone and what he's done. But yeah, to me, I don't understand it. It's crazy. Maybe, you know, you say it because this time of the season is very dull and boring and you need some talking points. But like, to me, I'm like, man, the reputation to just go ahead and put your name out there saying that Jalen Hurts is insecure, that's a very, very thin ice.
Insecurity when he fumbled and then answered in the Super Bowl. Like, where was the insecurities when it was he lost the lead and had to come down and score a 2-point conversion and a touchdown?
Right.
Like, where was the insecurity? I didn't see that. I seen a very confident young man who was willing to put it on his back, accept his wrongdoings. He like instantly walked out the field with his chest high after that fumble and was like, I got y'all. That was on me. That was my fault.
Yeah.
He goes right back down, boom, touchdown. If you had any insecurities, that's a fold moment. a continue to move forward moment. That's like, I fumbled. Okay, I'm going to sit down. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
He came back out. He played football. I don't see the insecurities, but I guess he was just making talking points. There's nothing really to talk about at this moment, but
something like that. Yeah, it blew my mind. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I can't. I don't know where you're coming from with that. I don't know what statement or argument he was trying to make, but he missed it. He missed it by a mile.
So I know it's weaknesses on every team. Where's your weakest spot right now? And who would you bring in to fill that void if you could bring in somebody that's out there, maybe by trade, maybe free agency?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, probably linebacker. You don't know what you have until I guess you see it, really. Because I trust Nakobe Dean. I think that Nakobe Dean is going to be great. So as far as that goes, I would say, okay, you could check the box there because I don't think that there's issues or concerns. Granted, we still need to see him do something, but to me, there's not as much of a concern there. But with linebacker in the second spot, I mean, Nicholas Morrow, he played good last season, but he doesn't have a full body of work for multiple seasons. And, it's a new defense. He's having to learn a lot of things here. I think that he can play well. And I also think that there's some potential with the Christian Ellis. We've seen guys like a TJ Edwards, an undrafted free agent, all of a sudden, rise to stardom. And now TJ Edwards is being said as one of the top 3 or 4 linebackers. He has apparently PFF ranking Chicago Bears as the number 2 linebacking core in the NFL. So, there's always guys that can come from, kind of the unknown, I guess. And Christian Ellis might be the player to do that. But I mean, if you just take a look at the team overall, and I'm trying to pick a weakness, it would probably have to be the linebacker spot. I know special teams as a whole, but I don't know if I'm going to say just a specific player. So if you go get like a Patrick Queen, I know that's the target, I guess, that keeps being set out there is, okay, that'd be a name. Isaiah Simmons for a while, but as you've said, and many have said, it's like, okay, well, he's going to be a defensive back now. So that's kind of off the table. So I don't know. I think if you could, but it's probably a pipe dream because, as we know, Howie does not value linebackers. And so I don't think he's going to go out there and make a big splash to say, yeah, let's get a linebacker like this. But I don't know. If I had to pick, probably linebacker at this point. What about you, though? You agree with that? You got a different position there?
I think I'm going DN. I think hands in the ground DN. We kind of like. I would like a. I know everybody gonna hate me for this take, but I would like Jadeveon Clowney, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see how there would be a little diciness there. That's some hard feelings.
I think he brings that element of he's not a great pass rusher, right? But he's a good run stopper, and he can help on that line to get some type of pressure when he's on the field. And he don't need a high snap rate, or he doesn't need all that. He can come in and play the same role. I know Ndamukong Suh's a D tackle, but kind of something like what they came in and did last year, where they kind of got in the rotation and they took a little pressure off of a Brandon Graham or Josh Sweat. And he comes off the end of Josh Sweat. I don't think we have a guy that comes off the right side at the moment. That's why we kind of picked up Robert Quinn. So I think a guy like Yannick Ngakoue or Jadeveon Clowney would be nice to put on that end.
Yeah, that could be some good depth. I'll give you that. Yeah, you can't ever have too many pass rushers, I don't think. And as we've seen, how he loves to fill in the trenches there, whether it's O-line or D-line. So I'd like it. You have some depth. I think there are some pieces there, but yeah, with the way that this group, and I'm assuming Desai's probably going to play the same type of style from what we've seen and heard, and him being a Vic Fangio disciple, but he loves that rotational element and getting a bunch of different linemen coming in, keep staying fresh. And that's what we've seen in past years too. So I think it seems to reason, sure, you get another depth add there, and maybe we'll see what they can do from the sack perspective. But I don't know, like on one hand, and I got to ask you this too. So it's like, obviously the 70 sacks last season. Do you see us repeating that? Do you see us going better than that with the sack numbers, or is it going to be less? Because I know I've heard arguments too. It's like, well, the schedule is a little bit tougher than it was last season. So where do you see sacks numbers wise on this team?
Okay, so after really talking to Gate City, right, we had a little conversation.
Yep.
If you really look at it, our schedule has a lot of weak offensive lines. They have great teams, but a lot of them are struggling in places on the offensive line. With the pressure we can apply, if you tell me that a guy in Jonathan Gannon only brought a 9% blitz rate, you telling me Sean Desai, with the defense he had in Chicago, which is nowhere near what he has in Philly, brought a 23, rate, and we got guys like Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. I think Terrell Edmonds could be used. I think a guy like I think even they can even use a Zach McPherson this year to just manufacture pressure. I think we could beat that record.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a little hard. I think it's going to be a little tough. I don't think it's going to be as easy as last year, because last year down the stretch, I think didn't Hassan Reddick in the last 3 games have six or 7 sacks?
I think so.
Like
I know that he had several, yeah, and there's definitely some help in a couple of those games, but yeah.
So I think with that being said, if you can bring in these guys and you got a guy like Nakobe Dean who can kind of get them acclimated to the defense, since he spent most of his time in the film room last year, I think we can manufacture a little bit more sacks. And I think Josh Sweat is coming for a makeup season, because people sleep on him. People forget he's 26.
They do, yeah.
So
He's
what do you
called
feel?
the old veteran.
Do you think we can break it, or do you think we fall a little short?
You know, I hate to be the Debbie Downer here, but I'm going to say it's less. But again, it's only because to me the schedule's tougher. I hear what you're saying. That's a good point as far as the offensive lines, but there's something about playing good quarterbacks, and I feel like we play better quarterbacks this season than we did last season, where they know how to get rid of the football, even if they have a bad offensive line. So to me, I'm like, I feel like the sack numbers will be a little bit lower, but overall, I think we'll have a much better defense, especially situationally. If there's positions where in the past we saw, okay, you know what, hey, we did something kind of successful, but as we know, Jonathan Gannon struggled for any type of adjustments, and then that really comes back to bite us. I think this season it's going to be different, because Desai and the coaching staff is putting an emphasis on let's be good at situational football and have guys with high IQ to make plays, put the players in position to make plays. So while I think, yes, the sack numbers will be lower, I'm going to say overall, I think the defense is better than last season.
I think we're in a better position, but I just need to see what Sean Desai can bring, because we've seen it with less talent. We've seen him out there. And then the reason I give him a little bit of respect is because he was with Pete Carroll, who I kind of admire his defensive mind, like a Bill Belichick. You know, those guys figure it out and they're able to put pieces together. If he took anything from, you know, Fangio or Carroll, and he's able to collide that with the Eagles, I think we're in a good state. They play a lot of that old school defense. So if you really want to get physical, we're gonna find out quick.
Yeah, we definitely are. No, but I hope we do. I mean, you know, like Bobby Murphy here in the comments, he says, yeah, hard to match a 70 sack season. That's true. It's very hard. I would love it if we do, but yeah, I'm maybe just erring on the side of like, that was an insane season. And, you know, you got to thank Carson Wentz. We brought him up earlier, but what did he give us? Like 9 sacks in that one game. So that doesn't always happen, you know? So, but maybe it does. Maybe we can get to that number. We'll see. If we're at 70 or we're past 70, I think this defense, as good as it will be just a legendary season. I think if we have the higher number than that, so it'd be crazy. I think
if back to Sidney Brown for 1 second. I think Sidney Brown, if he step in, I think he can fill that role of C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the T. Like, I know C.J. Gardner-Johnson is considered a veteran in the league, but he was playing more nickel corner. So I think Sidney Brown can replicate what he put in last year, and if he could do that, then that's kind of why I'm erring on the side of 70 sacks. Because when you got a guy that's getting a lot of interceptions, you have to hold that ball just a smidget longer just in case. And I think if Sidney Brown, because I know Terrell Edmonds is more of a box safety. I know Blankenship is decent in coverage, but he's kind of like hybridish. He in that middle range. I think Sidney Brown back there in coverage could benefit from Slay and Bradbury. Because if it was me personally, I'm using Terrell Edmonds more as a slot type linebacker-ish safety, because he's a great tackler. Didn't he? He led Pittsburgh in tackles 2 or 3 years in a row. So I think putting him in and letting him play the run, not as much coverage if he need to. I think we're gonna play a lot of three safety sets this year.
Yeah, that could be interesting. I know I've seen some of the, like, I guess models are just saying like, okay, would we play like a 3 high safety look and then have kind of a hybrid where obviously there's going to be a lot of movement, or even if it's kind of post snap movement to confuse the quarterbacks. And that's why I love one of the things about Desai saying we're going to make it tough on quarterbacks, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Like it's all 3 phases, and we're going to confuse them. So I can't wait to see it. But yeah, the more bodies you could put out there, I mean, Sidney Brown was the highest graded in terms of athleticism out of all defensive backs in the draft. And I think that a lot of people forget that, but according to Next Gen, he was the highest graded in his athletic scores. So not only does he have just the ability, the football IQ, and what you can see on the tape, but he's got the athleticism to back it up. So you put him in the right spots, and like you mentioned with Slay and Bradbury, he could make an impact. I love Sidney Brown. I also have a special affection for him, I suppose, because I'm a twin and he's a twin. So there's that dynamic. But
I have twin daughters.
I think he'd be great. Do you really?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So there you go. See,
they're going to sixth
awesome.
grade. Yeah.
What's it like having twin daughters in sixth grade? That's got to be crazy.
They're so different. You know what I'm saying? Like I know you and your brother look alike, but I know y'all are so different because I have twin daughters. They're totally different people. Like one is a Tom girl. She likes to get into the I want to play football, basketball. I want to be rough, and then the other one's like, I want my hair done, and I want to watch beauty stuff on YouTube. It's like, what? This is crazy. But they're getting to that age where they're like, I want shoes and I want clothes and I want this and that. And I'm like, okay, we're not rich here.
Oh man. Yeah. Good luck. Yeah, I can only imagine with two girls at that age. We've just got one. She's 19 months, so we're not close to that yet. But thank you, I appreciate it. It is fun, but man, two would keep me on my toes. That's got to be fun, but definitely keeps you on your toes and interested there. So
I've been asking this question around. I've been testing people's water. I'll tell you my answer before you get a chance to go. But I asked them. It's a lot of teams out here that got better this year. We are still number one in the NFC, but what team in the NFC do you feel gives us the biggest threat? I went with Seattle. If Pete Carroll can keep Geno Smith on the trajectory that he's on, even though you usually don't teach old dogs new tricks, but he was kind of decent last year. They brought in who I would suggest is the best wide receiver in this draft class. They also turned around and brought in who I would suggest is the best cornerback. They got a good backup running back. They brought in Bobby Wagner to kind of solidify the culture on that defensive side of the ball. I think they're in a good spot. But I also see, in respect that the Detroit Lions are making moves. But I seen it last year that they made moves, but it seems like they were in the same position they were in the year before. They fought a lot of games, but they still came up short a lot of those close games, which we seen Minnesota last year flip the script, and they had 9 games that were within one score, and they were like 8-1 or 7-2, something like that. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah,
so teams like that, it's easy to turn around, but it's easy to go down that downward spiral too and not be as good as you thought you were going to be because you brought in pieces and you got rid of pieces. They got rid of both of their starting running backs from last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
I mean, yeah, you're bringing in a rookie who you have a lot of faith in, but does he really produce in the first year behind a struggling offensive line? And then didn't their star receiver get suspended for gambling? Now you're starting with Amon-Ra Brown being basically your only target. It's a lot of things that play into. I don't know if Detroit is going to be there, and if they do, are they going to be cranking up too late to catch the role to be in the top seed where they're not playing all their games on the road?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a fair point. That's a very good point. I haven't heard too much of the Seahawks, but I like that though from what you're saying. I mean, Geno played pretty good, and then also Smith and Jiba, and with Devin Witherspoon, the additions that they made. You talking about there, so that's interesting.
They got Zach Charbonnet too,
and Zach Charbonnet. So yeah, that's kind of a dark horse sleeper pick there. I haven't heard that too often, but I could see it. We'll definitely have a tough game when we go to Seattle. We know how tough that is. We haven't won since 2008 or 7, whenever we were in Seattle last. So it's going to be difficult. But yeah, I don't know if I was going to say who the most challenging, or I guess the top competitor in the NFC. To me, it's probably between two teams in my mind. It's between the 49ers and between the Cowboys. Like, as much as I hate to say that, but I do think that it's going to be between those two teams there. And I think that The Niners, we don't know which quarterback they'll be on by the time that we play them, or by the time the playoffs get here. So they could be on their third or fourth string. Who knows? Because Kyle Shanahan just loves to get his quarterbacks beat up and game plan for tight ends to block the best defensive lineman on the team. So if he keeps doing that, then maybe not. Maybe we don't have to worry about them. But I think the Niners do have a lot of strong pieces on that team. And, say what you will about the game planning and whatever they didn't have a chance in the NFC Championship game, but I still think that they would be one of the top contenders there. But then Dallas, as much as I hate to say that in terms of at least the regular season, I think that it'll be a pretty close battle for the division. And so then obviously once you get to the playoffs, they're not as concerning because we kind of know what Dak is in the playoffs and that he can't really do anything past the divisional round or to get past it. So, maybe not as much in the playoffs for them as it is the Niners, but during the regular season, I think it's probably going to be between Dallas and San Francisco.
The only reason I didn't go for San Francisco, 2 reasons. Well, we might go deeper than 2 reasons, but I'm going to start with 2 reasons. First reason, DeMeco Ryan is no longer there. That was kind of their catalyst the last few years, him on that defensive side of the ball being able. And I don't know what Steve Wilkes really comes in and provides for the team. The last time I seen him as a defensive coordinator, he drafted Kyler Murray. So, I mean, that tells me that your defense wasn't that great because Kyler Murray was the number 1 overall pick. So
True.
I don't know if he comes in and keeps the defense rolling. And then you have a battle at kind of quarterback positioning where you have 3 guys right now and you don't know which one could be the starter. You want Trey Lance because of what you gave up to, put him in the driver's seat of your offense. But then you look at what Brock Purdy was able to perform with last year. You kind of don't want to sit the guy what you consider the hot hand. But then you also bring in Sam Darnold and you telling the media and the news that he's right now the leading horse in the quarterback race. It's kind of hard to pick them. And then Dallas, the same reason you gave me for the second part of, the reason I said they're not a threat, I don't think you'll be in the NFC Championship game. I don't think you.
True.
I don't think you might not get out of the wild card because you have 4 wins since 2000 in the playoffs. And you have 2 by 2 quarterbacks who are basically carbon copies of each other. Mm-hmm. They show up really, really small in big games, and they show up with interceptions and turnovers. So to me, that's the only reason I didn't pick Dallas, because on the defensive side of the ball, they have the requisite pieces to kind of get at us, kind of frustrate our offense. But then on the offensive end, I don't know if I could trust a Dak Prescott. I don't know what Brandon Cooks brings. I don't know what Kenny Galladay. I don't even know what Tony Pollard you're getting at this moment because he just broke his fibula. He could come back and not be the guy you think, and then the guy you got behind him has a history of not being able to hold on to the rock. So that's the only reason I didn't pick Dallas and for the 49ers. Sure. But the 49ers, if Trey Lance turns out to be what I thought he was going to be coming in, then yes, I agree.
Maybe so. But that's a good question. I mean, because I think that's what we're all wondering is Trey Lance going to be that? Like, it looked like maybe, and then we're kind of uncertain. So yeah, there's definitely some question marks. I think they definitely have bigger question marks than, say we do, or there's a lot of other teams in the league. But I still think at the same time, you look at the full body work, the core of those teams, and it's kind of hard to say, well, are they not going to be at least near the top in some of your upper competition in the NFC? Because it's probably a little bit weaker if you're looking at just in terms of the conferences, the NFC or the AFC. But yeah, I think to your point though, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, we always see a team that is like, okay, hey, they did pretty good, but then the next year they turn out all of a sudden, look at what Philly did. There's always those teams that turn it around. So maybe it's the Seahawks, and it wouldn't be too shocking because they definitely made a lot of what I would consider right selections in the draft and building their team the right way. So, and Smith and Jiba apparently is unguardable in OTAs and having a crazy camp, which, I guess a lot of people have a great camp. So we'll see how that turns out when he's actually on the field. But from the highlights and everybody else that's saying things, you just added another weapon for Geno. So maybe that turns out.
And then you already got 2 weapons. So, and then they got their running back coming back. Like, it could be. Listen, I don't love anybody more than the Eagles, but if I was going with a team that I thought if they could keep the same kind of juice they had last year, I think they give us a little run. I think they can, really put some pressure on a lot of other teams. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I predict us going back to the Super Bowl. I want a rematch with Kansas City. Like I really want to get my get back.
Yep.
I don't feel, 2004, I had to wait 13 years to get mine against the GOAT. And now, I don't want to wait that long. I want mine back instantly. I need Karma to come right through the door. I need her to be pretty and nice, and I need her to sing some redemption for me because I don't like that. I mean,
I'm with you. I don't want to wait 13 years. That's too long. Let's get it now.
Like I don't understand how we lost that Super Bowl. It's hard to think about it in June, but what's your prediction for next year? Do you have like a record prediction that you may be spitting out in June? I know it's early, but
yeah, I mean, it's early to your point, yes, but I think that we'll be somewhere around like 11 wins, 12 wins. I don't think it'll be the 14, but I still think that it'll be a solid number. I do think that there will be competition all the way up until maybe the last week. We don't have to play starters or whatnot if we have it locked up at that point for the division. But I don't know, just with this schedule, the way that it falls, you look at some potential, let down games or some follow up or a look ahead game. There's a lot of tough teams in this. And so I'm not saying that, the Birds couldn't shock us and just go through the gauntlet, win, what is it, those 7 or 8 straight games. That's the most difficult schedule in the NFL. And they could just steamroll the teams and win all of them. But I just feel like there might be a little bit of up and down. And the other part that, I knock on wood, hope this doesn't happen, we say our prayers, but like the injury bug, we've been very fortunate, certainly last year. And that's one of those things. It's like it feels like you have very little control of. Now, I'll give Sirianni and the training staff a lot of credit for saying we're going to do less practices while the rest of the league does. And that probably has something to play a factor. But, we've seen this is the NFL. It's physical. And too many times guys just get rolled up on in a very unfortunate, unlucky position. And then all of a sudden you're going, dang it, like we just lost somebody. So again, knock on wood, hopefully we don't have to deal with that, but it feels like maybe there's a little adversity we have to overcome. Hopefully it's not long-term. But I feel like it's hard to sustain that level of a 14-win season for multiple years in a row. And so that's why I say I think that we'll make the playoffs. I'm not concerned about that, but I'd say probably in that 11-win category was what I would go with.
I got a small bit more of an optimism than you do.
That's fair. That's fair.
Listen. I'm one of those guys. I'm real skeptical about strength of schedule because 2017 we're supposed to have a pretty tough strength of schedule coming into the season. Then when we got to the playoffs, it was more, okay, they have a backup. Are they battle tested? We had the same kind of arguments last year. I don't know if all these teams are going to turn out to be that. You got a lot of question marks with Jets. Tua only played 8 games. Like I got a lot of, the only people that's really on my schedule that I can lock in is probably Dallas, probably the Kansas City Chiefs. Anybody else is pretty much tossed up in the air. So I got us pretty much at like
Buffalo. I mean, I know they got some.
I can kind of guarantee myself to get to get a few picks. Josh Allen is going to.
That's true. Yes, he's going to turn the ball over, but
I got to sit in that 13, 14 wins. Probably running it back again. I think that gauntlet we come out partially unscathed, maybe one loss. The second loss is probably I think I had the Dolphins. I think I had Kansas City, and I think I gave the Giants that final win of the season because we're gonna be sitting down.
All right, okay, that's fair. You think we win? We win in Seattle, even though
yes, I think we break that. I think we break that streak.
Okay.
I think the Jets don't break our streak. I think we keep it rolling. Like I don't know, man. Like every year somebody has this high strength of schedule. They're gonna have to play this. Like Patrick Mahomes has been playing that number one schedule for what 4 or 5 years now. They still end up kind of in the same realm of 13 to 14, 12 to 14-ish wins. I don't know. I think we can run it back, man. I think we're gonna be better. I don't know. Like 12 wins. I don't see us taking 5 losses. I don't see. What do you see the 5 losses? Then maybe I could.
It's tough, but like okay, so I could see us. I really want us to beat Kansas City, but we have yet to beat Big Red since he's left. So to me, it's like it feels like, and again, I may be the very conservative, cautiously optimistic here and not looking at it, with a glass half full as much as anybody else. But let's say maybe the Chiefs that you lose a game to, between the Jets or Dolphins, you lose one of those games. There's the Niners, Cowboys, and Bills that are back to back in that situation. Yeah. So we usually seem to split with Dallas. Again, as much as I hate to give them some credit, I could see us losing a game to Dallas. So maybe in Dallas. So there's 3. There's always a random slip-up game, like what happened with the Commanders. There's just a random team that shouldn't beat you that always does. That's how it feels anyway. So I don't know who that is, but I would say there's a 4th one in there. And then for the 5th, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the Niners. Maybe it's the Bills. Maybe it's trying to think the Seattle, and it's going to be tough. The Rams, I don't think that they're going to be as easy as people think, and you got to play them, on the road, which granted they don't really have a great home crowd, but still that, they could turn some things around and surprise people. So I don't know, to me, that's where I say there's enough potentials there to where I could see us being more like a 12 win. So that's where I'm in the 11 to 12 win category. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we win more than that. But that's where I just see that the NFL is hard to repeat in. And at that level, I'm not saying that we're not going to win the NFC or win the division, but I think that it'll be a little bit of a closer race and not those 14 wins like we saw.
Well, I kind of say the 14 wins because I feel like last year possibly should have been 15-2. If Jalen Hurts wasn't out, we win that Saints game. I think we win that Cowboys game. And I don't think we win the game that he played in. I don't think we have to come back and play the Giants and beat them. So I thought last year should have been 15-2. So that's why I kind of go in that 13-4 to 14-3 range, because I felt like last year we kind of got cheated those 2 games. Our quarterback had to sit down.
Yeah.
I don't know how hurt he was, but I know he pushed the play in the Saints game.
Mm-hmm.
I know he didn't ask for the count, but I know he pushed the play in the Saints game. They said no. So that means, I feel like we could get a couple of those wins back. I don't know if we beat Andy Reid, not in the regular season, but I don't care about the regular season. I want my rematch in the Super Bowl, and that's that.
Super Bowl.
I want you to come see me again at the end, because I think if that Super Bowl was played 10 times, we win 7 of those games.
I think so too. We had them on the ropes. We were doing everything until just absolutely no in-game adjustments, and we let them keep running that same little motion before the pass or motion before the play, and then DBs either weren't reading it or it was Gannon's. I don't know who was calling it, but every single time it's like, oh, there it is again. We've seen that play multiple times. So yeah, I hope so. Again, I maybe I'm being a little bit cautious with it, but there's just something to me. We know how Jalen plays, and I hope he's healthy. I hope he stays healthy, but he's not afraid to put his body on the line there. If he's out for just a couple games, I think Mariota is a good backup option. I think he's serviceable. He can come in and win you some games. There's a lot of talent on this team, but if you deal with some other injuries in other areas, I don't know. There's just I could see us somehow end up losing 5 games. I don't know which exactly those would be, but there's a chance possibly.
I kind of see Jalen Hurts playing 17 games. I seen towards the end of the season last year.
I hope he does.
He took a lot of precautions. Like after that injury, you can see it. Like, okay, I can't just be getting hit. I can't just be turning my back and just letting people pile on me. So he was kind of taking the easy road out of bounds. I kind of like that. So I wanted to ask a question though. So since you say we're going, backwards on the win schedule, do you see Jalen Hurts statistics dropping?
That's a good question too. I don't know necessarily. I mean, I feel like it'll be about level. I feel like we might have a better running game or rushing attack than we even did last year, though, because we won't have to be able to or have to make him throw all the time. At the same time, though, it's a question of, I guess, how teams start playing us, because as we saw in the Super Bowl, like Jalen can make every single throw and he can make every single read, but it just depends on what teams are going to do. It's like a pick your poison. So that's, to me, where I'm kind of struggling to say, okay, our team's going to go in and say, well, you know what? The recipe for success is to go in and stop the run game. So let's make Jalen have to make all the throws. Well, if they do that, then yeah, he's going to have an incredible year. But if they come in and say, no, let's not let Jalen beat us, well, then all right, cool. We'll just run behind this O-line. So I don't think we're ever going to get to completely off balanced and say we're just totally pass happy. But I could see us taking a step in the direction of throwing a little bit more. So, I mean, for that reason, again, we're here in June and we're just making random predictions. But right. I I would say he has a little bit more. I don't think it's crazy, but I think that he has a little bit more production than he did last season. I think that he can take that next jump. I'm not getting, overreaction to the couple picks that he threw apparently in OTAs, like 7-on-7s to me are meaningless. Let's not go crazy about that. But yeah, I'd say he takes a little bit more of a step, and his work ethic and everything else. I don't see any reason to doubt him. He's not insecure. There's no concerns with that either. So let's put that to rest. But yeah, I'd say takes a little bit more of a step. How about you?
The last few streams I've been kind of on the train. Like what we see this year, I think is like the final product. You're not going to get too much more progression. You're not going to, unless he just regresses, then pretty much year 3-ish. I know it's year 4, but year 3 of him being a starter, being in the offense, I think this year you're going to see everything. I think the running game is going to cut back a lot for him. I think he had 700 plus yards last year. I think he cut it down to about 400 this year. Those 300 get pushed into the running game that, at sometimes last year we didn't know how to use. That's another story. But I think he's going to have a better passing game this year. But I think his running touchdowns will be kind of the same, because I think he's going to pick and choose his poison a little bit more inside of the red zone. So I think he steps back on the, just having to run all the time, because I was telling somebody, like, I want him to be able to use the run, but not actually have to run. Last year, a lot of times when he tucked the ball and he took off, you could kind of know, hey, it's not going to be a throw. Once he tucks it in, it was a run 90% of the time. He didn't. I want to see him, use it to set him up. Like everybody reacts to him, and then he kind of falls back. Should be wide open guys here and there on the field. So I think Brian Johnson and him are going to be able to work together to kind of scheme some different looks, because people have film now. You have to change it up. So I want to see even the quarterback sneak. I want to see some different alterations to it. I want to see you, maybe throw a pass out of it. Everybody think you running in, and then you get Goddard coming across the middle on one of those screens. That could be deadly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got so many different looks, because to your point, and they're going to be game planning, watching film. How do we stop this? And all of a sudden you have a little wrinkle. It's like, oh, didn't see that one coming. So yeah, I could totally see it. Plus, we talked about Swift, but we haven't really had that type of a weapon in a passing game. So all of a sudden the screens, the little running back dump offs, you end up, having them check it out on a linebacker. There could be a lot of other positions. There are a lot of other situations in a game where Jalen's all of a sudden, Swift has 7 catches or something like that, and that's taking a little bit of a burden off as well. You talk about the running, so yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that he's going to run quite as much. I think that it'll be a little bit difficult for him to make that full adjustment. Not that he can't, but it's just, I think, ingrained in him to be a football player first. And I don't mean that as a knock. I'm just saying the competitiveness that we see in Jalen Hurts. Like, I don't know if there's anybody at that same level. Like in the Super Bowl, in moments, he's not afraid to sacrifice his body. Like on the 2-point conversion to tie it up, like that was all Jalen. There was nobody stopping him from getting into the end zone and getting that 2-point conversion. And so that's where I say is like, okay, as long as he can figure out when that's worth it and when it's not, then I think we'll be fine. But I don't know. There's just a part of me that wonders, okay, is he going to put his body on the line just a little bit more than he should? I don't know. I hope not. And I do hope that injury kind of, helped them to learn or see through it. Is like, all right, we could do a little bit different here, because teams are going to key off it, like you mentioned, for sure. So we'll see. But I'm not super worried about Jalen.
Listening to a lot of people, they'll tell you like, hey, as an owner, put in $255 million, you might even have to say something like, hey, Jalen, look, I need you not to just go out there and get killed. Yeah. I need you to be a little bit more smart. I need you to make better decisions. Don't run every time. But I do think this year we're going to get back to those screens with the running back. I think even a dude like Olamide Zaccheaus coming in, being a natural slot, he can get a lot of that middle of the field movement, that AJ Brown took majority of the snaps doing last year. I think we could bring him in. I think the offense is just a tad better than last year. I think we're a tad better. Zach Pascal's a good run blocker, but he wasn't really a threat on the passing game. Miles Sanders, I have a lot of respect for Miles. I own 2 of his jerseys, so I was kind of bought in. But I think DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny kind of bring a better dual threat to the game than what he brought by himself last year. So I think
I do too.
I think if Penny really stays healthy, man, I can see a lot of the games like last year where we played 500 snaps, 10-point lead. Imagine Penny being the guy with those 10-point leads.
Yeah, there's not another guy that I'd want.
That's old school Alabama football to me.
Yeah.
And Jalen good at that. He played plenty of that. So we can turn around and hand it off and let you just pound him to sleep. And then when you think you're going to step up, we bring in a dude like DeAndre Swift or Kenny Gainwell who can get you out of the backfield. And you got linebacker on two probably of the most dynamic receiving backs in the game right now.
It's dangerous.
This is going to be whew.
I love it. I'm super hyped about it because and it's interesting you mentioned that too, because I've heard some people, they're like, oh, hey, let's have, Penny start out the game and you spell it with Swift and then all of a sudden Swift and Gainwell late. But to me, I'm thinking kind of like what you mentioned there. Let's have Penny at the end. Let's have him as the closer. You want your physical, tough, just imposing back coming in when the defense is gassed. They're trying to not let you get a first down, but we say, all right, here we go, because I don't think you can stop him. This guy is, again, over 6 yards a carry with the Seahawks O-line. So with this team here, it's like, all right, let's just play. Let's do an option here, and he has the option. Jalen can hand it off. To your point, he can keep it, throw, and get a first down. But I think if we can get up, I think that there's not going to be very many teams that can try to get their way back in a game because that they're not going to be able to get the ball back.
Somebody, who Dev, one of my friends, he's usually on here with like me and Philly Mike on the Jan app or whatever, right? And he was telling me, he was like, imagine Rashad Penny on the quarterback keeper. If they were able to get it down and he could hold it, like that's a point where Jalen Hurts don't got to be in the game. Jalen Hurts don't have to get hurt. Like you put Penny in and he's like so powerful, just like Jalen. It's almost a guarantee again. And then it's a running back, so he might be able to come through and make a move and end up on the other side of the field, and that could be deadly. I think we got so many options that it's really gonna give teams headaches. And if you're not in that locker room watching videos, making sure everything is okay, you're gonna be in for a couple nightmares if you're not ready.
Definitely so. Yeah, there's a ton of weapons. The weapons are just about endless on this team. What they can do and the potential. That's why I say I'm super excited. The season can't get here fast enough. It's like waiting forever for this thing to get here, which, we're almost a month, I guess, until training camp. Not quite, but almost a month. So it'll get here eventually. Are you
going to any games this year?
Yes, I'll be at, for sure. I'll be at the game in Dallas, and then I haven't decided which game I'm going to go to in Philly. So I live behind enemy lines is kind of the tagline there, but I live in Dallas. So I like giving Dallas fans a lot of crap for that, especially going to those games. So I'll go to the Dallas game. And I don't know, I've been thinking like maybe going to the Dolphins game. Sunday Night Football could be fun. Thought about like, I don't know, going to the
San Fran game.
Are you okay? I was going to say maybe the San Fran. I was thinking about that one. Or what was the other one that I was looking at potentially? It was, I think Buffalo, maybe do that one. Those are at least as of right now, but we'll see. But I'll definitely be going to one game in Philly. That's for sure.
I'm going to the San Fran. Be my first game in the Link. I've been to the Vet before, but I've never been to the Link. So that'll be my first game in there. And then I'm going to go to the Tampa game. So that'll be my 2 games of the year.
Heck yeah.
I'm right down the street from Tampa, so it'll be silly for me to miss that game.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be probably meeting Joe Castro out there, a couple of us.
Yeah,
a couple of the guys said they're going to be out there, so I'm going to go to the 4th and John tailgate and see if I can meet up with some of those guys, man, because it's been an honor dealing with people, man.
You.
Like I've met some good people on here, man, and I want to feel that link though. I told my wife if it works out right, I might have to turn around and sell some plasma and refinance my car, but I might have to go to a playoff game.
Yeah.
The playoff game on the TV it seems so dramatic and so exuberant, like something you want to be in. And then I think the link just in a playoff game, maybe a divisional round game, it would be crazy. I think this gets number 1 seed first. So if I make any plans.
Yes. I mean, I'd say it's definitely worth it. I've only been to the link once, and it was last season, and it was at the NFC Championship game. So to tell you, to reaffirm, It's exactly what you just said, and then more, because I had in my mind like what it would be like to experience a playoff game at the Link, and then it just surpassed all expectations. I mean, just the energy, the electricity, like when Hassan had that strip sack and got Purdy, and then the stadium was just absolute nuts. It was chaos, but it was so much fun. It was a blast. I probably did myself a little bit of a disservice though, because like that's my expectation now for every Eagles game, because that's my first one that I went to at the Link. But no, it's definitely worth it. Still recovering from the plasma and all that I had to give away, but no, I'm just kidding. But it's crazy expensive. So yes, to your point, like, save up for that. I don't know when I'll ever be going back, but it was one of those things. It was like,
you'll be going back this year, man.
I'll for sure go back, but for the playoff game, I don't know, man. That was so expensive. It was my 30th birthday, so it's kind of easier to like pass it off to the wife of like, hey, I'd be nice to go to this game here and everything. So it worked out. But yeah,
man, you never get a moment like that again, though. That's a moment you might not ever get back, man. So I know you gotta get up out here in 5 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and let you, tell the people, where to find you, what you got coming up this week, whatever, what I'm saying. Just give them a little forecast so we can go ahead and, make sure they tune in to, one of the greatest right now, Eagles content creators.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's not necessary. I appreciate you too, Smitty, just having me on, because I know I've been ducking you and everything. Man, cool. So I do appreciate it, because it's been nuts. But it's a blessing, and I enjoy it. I have a blast just talking birds, and it's I try to have a little fun with it. If anybody's seen the shows, I use little movie clips just to make fun or poke fun at people. So it's cool. But yeah, the Philly Special Show on YouTube, at the PHI Special on Twitter and all other social media, pretty much. But yeah, it's been a blast. Enjoy talking about it now here too. Obviously, like what we said, the off season is kind of dull and boring and slow. So to have something to fill the time, to fill the void is nice. But yeah, I can't wait to get into more of the news here in about a month. I really don't know what I have coming up in the next week or so. So it's just kind of scouring over the internet to see if there's anything to talk about. Otherwise, we'll maybe just do positional rankings or hypotheticals and things like that. So maybe people enjoy it. But it'd be nice if, Nolan Smith or others continue to share some workout videos, because that always gets me hyped up. So I'm here for it. But no, man, I appreciate you again having me on.
We want to thank you, man. We're very gracious. Before you leave, I just lost 2 friends in the last 4 months to mental health. One of them went through a battle with cancer. She became cancer free, and then within like a month span, she went went back to the doctor, found out she was already not a strong person, so she really didn't want to go through that situation again. My other friend, she went down the path of taking her own life. You know what I'm saying? So mental health is real.
Sorry to hear that.
So before you leave, man, can you tell me where you're at mentally, and 1 to 10, how you feeling? How's life going? Because I understand you got a nice little baby out there. She should keep you up, but everybody going through something, man. So you never know till you ask.
That's true. No, I definitely appreciate that, and I'm so sorry to hear that. That is never easy to deal with, and very difficult. I've known some friends as well, same situation. But yeah, mental health is very serious. I appreciate it. I'm doing awesome, man, because I get to wake up every day and do what I love. I've got an incredible family, incredible support system, and that would be, I guess, my encouragement to anybody that would be thinking about it or doing it. One of the quotes that I love and kind of just keep on, I guess, sharing or whatnot is to do what you love, to find something that you love. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and do that, because what this world needs is someone who's come alive. So whatever gets you hyped up, whatever gets you excited, passionate, motivated, go and do that. So I'm good, but I appreciate it, Smitty.
Hey, man, y'all tune in to 4133 The Pod. Y'all go subscribe, like, comment, share his videos, man. He give out good content. I know I do a lot of content myself, but I still watch these guys, man. I still tune in to make sure I'm up to date with what I got going on. I'm just trying to get better. So I appreciate you for coming out, man. I appreciate all y'all for coming out, because without y'all, there would be no us. And one day, hopefully, I can get on the Wednesday link, maybe hang out with him and Thomas Mott, man. But
there you go. Yeah.
Thank you, man, so much.
Appreciate it.